All right, we are going to talk about scapegoating today. And honestly, I've been needing to do this for a while because scapegoating has ruined a lot of things and unfortunately is one of the major ruling points of modern day spirituality, which makes zero sense, especially if you knew what the spirit of blaming someone else is. Which is a whole thing that people don't want to look at when it comes down to it. But again, it's because modern day spiritualists don't care about truth. They don't want to know anything about truth, and they'd rather sit around and cuddle up with a false truth, with a lie. So let's begin. With scapegoating, obviously scapegoating is, throwing someone else under the bus, blaming someone else for an own reaction or an own problem. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in life, when you have a problem, or when something affects you, or something is in your area, or as people say, your energy, it's because you agree to it being there. It doesn't matter what you say or think, you are allowing it because you haven't moved your own physical self away from it, or your mental self, whichever body it's affecting you on, or whatever state it's affecting you on, better yet, is all according to you. A huge thing that happens a lot, especially within the tarot community, because the tarot community is the worst for this, apparently. It's bizarre because if they knew what tarot was, they wouldn't be doing it. But unfortunately, most people who jump into tarot are following what is highly known as an antichrist agenda. Now, why are we talking about antichrist agendas? Why are we talking about the antichrist when we're talking about scapegoating? Because that's exactly what the antichrist wants you to do. What do you think the embodiment of Christ is? Christ consciousness. People might say knowing all is one or all is whole would be a more accurate description of that. But the main thing that an antichrist would do is keep you separated from you, to keep you so focused on things that aren't you that you become them and lose yourself in that, to where you can no longer find who you are, because you've then boxed yourself in a paradigm where you are those things, and where those things do hit you due to an agreement that you make on your behalf. Now, a lot of people like to do the whole thing of, yeah, but I didn't do anything to anyone. Well, but you did. Even if you don't think that you did, even if you're like, oh, someone's doing magic on me and I didn't do anything to them, you did. You did something to them. You don't have to claim it as you did something to them, but if you're going to scapegoat, you're going to have to swallow that pill that way. In actuality, no one did anything to anyone except for both of the individuals in their own self. But in this scapegoating world where everyone's pointing fingers, not realizing that there's three fingers pointing straight back at them, they tend to forget that they are the ones upset and that they are the ones feeling it. And we can jump down a different path with this as well. We can talk about people who say that they are empathic and they're like, I don't want to pick up on everyone's feelings. I'm tired of picking up on everyone else's energy. And they end up scapegoating others. Like, oh, I just keep going around bad people. It's not that you're going around bad people. You just keep being around individuals that you know are not good for you. There is a awareness that needs to be had. As someone who's empathic, you should be very aware of not only someone else's feelings, but your own. But a lot of people aren't aware of their own feelings, yet claim that they're empathic, which is not the case at all. And if you are someone who struggles with dealing with energy influxes from others and you're empathic, stop being around people. That's the solution to your problem. If you're tired of picking up on people's feelings, just stay away from them. But that's an answer that they don't want. They want like a how do I turn it on and off? Well, if you can't figure that yourself because it's your ability, no one else can tell you how to do it, then you might as well just stay away from people until you can figure it out. You know what I mean? But these answers, these are the real answers. These are the answers that people don't want to hear, but it's the answer that they are asking for. Someone has to give the answer, and I genuinely like giving these answers because it's the truth. It makes you free. Well, it sets you free. Either way, it allows you to free yourself from whatever force has had you under its clutch. Usually, and I say usually, but I do mean 10 out of 10 times, it's your mind that has that clutch on it. The world will do what the world wants, but the mind itself is the one creating a lot of your reactions and a lot of the feelings that aren't really present there in the first place, but become present due to the amount of focus. And this comes from a lack of people knowing that they are a twin individual. People want to say that they're an individual. I'm alone. I'm all by myself. No, you're not. You have another person with you. In fact, you have two other people with you. You have a feminine and a masculine element with you at all times. When you say that you're alone, you're either so focused on your rational mind that you have split yourself away from it completely, or you are just not aware that you can talk to yourself and respond differently. Because, that's enough proof that you are more than one individual internally. But people don't look at it that way. It's the scapegoating nature of looking outside, trying to find an answer outside. And the majority of that comes from the Crusades, from religion, from Christianity, where they threw around this scapegoating story throughout the whole book, basically, and that's what their whole religion is based off of, is scapegoating and blaming other people and saying what's going to happen to other people without realizing that's happening to them current time. And it's important to break that dogma. It doesn't matter if you're religious or not. Stop scapegoating, because it's not doing anything beneficial. When people like to say, oh, I'm being attacked by magic, or like, oh, someone won't stop doing this, it's because you are allowing that interaction to exist on some form or another. Either you're thinking about it and it irritates you whenever you know that you should be thinking about it, or you sit there and you deal with it whenever you could simply just walk away. There's a part of you that keeps you there. It might be your rational mind trying to make you feel like, oh, I can overpower this, let me stand there. So then your ego, which is you, decides to go, yeah, I can withstand it, but you can't. It's the same thing, and we'll take it to this level too, because I see this happen a lot when people are trying to break chains from their ancestors or traumas or whatever, and they say, I just can't do this, my ancestors aren't helping me, yada yada yada, like all these things. You're scapegoating on them now. Just because you're not powerful enough to do it doesn't mean they didn't give it their best either. If you can't do it, drop it and move on. If you can do it, awesome. If you have the mental awareness of seeing that pattern and knowing it should break, then you have the answer. The only thing that's stopping you at that point is you. And that's something that you have to realize. They won't teach you this within spirituality, because spirituality is trying to keep you locked into a false agenda, unfortunately. They want to keep you in between two worlds. They want you serving two masters, serving two gods, which you can't do. That's the whole issue with the human body and the human brain. You can't, give courtesy to your intuition and your rational mind at the same time. There's an order of these things. And what modern day spirituality is trying to do is, well, since we have the religious people stuck in between the two, if we can do the same thing for them, then they won't be able to see it either. You're under the same cloth as the modern day religions are, honestly. And it's very scary to see, because a lot of them don't realize it. But it's, again, because of this scapegoating thing. What pleases the mind more, the truth or being able to put it on someone and act like they're the issue? That's the question at hand that a lot of people are afraid to ask themselves, because they're not ready to accept the fact that it's them. They're not ready to accept the fact that they are the issue, that they are the ones causing those things to pop up, that it's their thoughts and it's their ears that are hearing these things, and it's their mind that's creating these things, and it's their body that's feeling these things. It's a lack of control of self that then gets projected out of a controlling of someone else by dictating their story based off of how you feel, which is, if you're going to say these terms, narcissistic. So let's get down and dirty with it. Are you really who you think you are when you are in this scapegoating energy as a holy devout one? Or are you the exact same role as the person on the other side? Unfortunately, you are the exact same role as the person on the other side, because if they're doing something to you because they, think that you did something to them, and you're going to do the same thing back to them, same boat. If someone's going to just do things to you because you don't like them, and then you're going to go around and scapegoat them for all your problems, that's the same thing. They don't like you. You're causing problems in their life by making them see things. They might not be vocal about it, but the only difference is you're vocal about it. The only thing that's different is the internal, the external expressions that go in, but that, happen amongst both of you. And if anyone, and we'll take it down the Christian route, we'll take it down the religious route real quick. It even says in the Bible, it says in a lot of religious texts, that when two or more come together, there is a third, and that third is the Spirit, and that Spirit is of God, and that Spirit is omniscient, it sees all. So for between the interaction of you and another, God sees all. That's not only talking about your internal system knowing that you are lying about something, but you are portraying it in a different way. Your amounts of, are they really doing this? And then getting your reading like, no, they really did. They really did. You need to no, you don't need to do anything. And the fact that you would retaliate back like that proves that you need some form of external force on their end to happen, to make you feel better. It's a whole mental psyop that gets played on you by your own self due to unhealed wounds. This whole scapegoating thing, not only within tarot, which is unfortunate, the spiritual community, religious community, just life in general, it's unfortunate because people like to say that they're woke or that they're awake, which awake just means not wake or not woke, which means you're still sleeping. Please use your words correctly. Anything that says awakening is putting you to sleep, unfortunately. Learn the English language, please, before jumping into these channels that look like they know things just because they use words that make sense to the grand world rather than what it actually phonically represents, which we all know that words are spells, and that's why it's called spelling. So maybe you should involve yourself more in with that if you do care to, remove certain spells, not only over you, but over conscious selves, because you might not be aware of it on the first plane, but when it comes down to your subconscious, when it comes down to things that you've learned through school and sciences and biology and all these other things, there's contradictions that exist which prevent you from moving forward, which either means you need to drop that belief system completely because it's doing nothing but hindering you, or you need to delve deeper into it and actually find out what it's there to do, what it's bringing you, and what it's actually there to break down, what it's there to show, what's the science that it brings, what's the question that it answers in that sense. And but anyway, back to the scapegoating thing, because we got a little bit off track. But with the whole scapegoating movement that's going on, it's keeping people disconnected from who they really are, and it's putting them in this whole field of just wanting someone else to do something bad to them so they can seem right. It's also led to a bunch of people who end up feeling proud of other people getting hurt by them, which is weird because, again, that puts you in the same boat that the other person was in. So what's going on there? I don't know. That's a question for the spiritual community, because they're a bunch of fucking backwards people who cried wolf, but then they're the actual wolf and they're not even the boy. So it make sense. But again, like, at the end of the day, this scapegoating thing needs to end. Not because it will, miraculously change things, but it's going to literally allow you to see what's really going on. People get clouded by the flesh. It's this backwards method. Oh, I know the war isn't of flesh and blood. I know it's a battle of spirit. But when you say but, that integer just erases everything you said before. It's like saying I love you, but. No, you can't say I love you, but, because when you say I love you, but, that literally just means that you don't love them at all. And you just said that as a comfort word for their mental. That's what that means. That's what that integer does. It takes back and reverts everything that you said before it. Which is why it's important to know how to use that word. And it's why anytime I see anyone say anything and then go, I respect, but, no, you don't, because you're just admitting that you don't. You're allowing it to not just exist. You need to add in that separation factor, because you don't actually agree with it. You just need to allow your mental space to feel good with it, because you've not yet hit a strong enough point within your own development to just be okay with having an opinion. You have to cover it up and play safe or whatever, because you yourself are looking for an outwards, a quote unquote, using these terms because it's the key that fits the door, a quote unquote positive outlook, or a positive look at me, I'm not being mean, I said this first type stuff. That's what's going on when that integer is being used. So scapegoating is the same thing as, I get it, but they did that, so who cares? It's the same story. If someone tells you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? No. God, I'd hope not. But when it comes to scapegoating, in that realm of things, when that same question is answered, I wouldn't jump off a bridge, but they did scream at me to. Does that make much sense? Not really. I love everyone, but I hate XYZ. Then you don't love everyone. You see what I mean? It's this scapegoating. And the scapegoating doesn't even happen externally. It happens internally. When you end up tricking yourself, making yourself think, oh, I didn't do that, or that wasn't what I meant to say, but it was, because in that energy, it's what you protruded. In that state of mind, it's what you put out there. And it's important to be conscious of your own actions. And all scapegoating does is make you less responsible or less able to respond to your own outcome, to your own shortcomings, to your own way of seeing. And that shows a lack of growth. That shows a lack of soul maturity. It shows a lack of mental clarity. It shows a lack of mental maturity. It shows that one is still afraid to see things as whole and still needs to split them apart into groups. We did that in elementary school for cognition. We don't need to do that anymore. We should be able to see a situation and look at it, but we were unable to. In this whole scapegoating thing, we're going to dive into the tarot aspect of it. The whole scapegoating thing has ripped away from what the true message of tarot is. Again, this is why I do what I do, because there are so many people who don't even see it. They'll use the 5 of Wands or the fucking 7 of Wands and be like, oh, people are trying to reach you, or people are trying to fight you, or whatever. And that's not it at all. If they knew what the cards were saying, they'd understand some shit, but they don't, because they don't know tarot. If they knew tarot, they'd understand why there's always 2 to 3 people on a card. There's only a few cards with more than 3 people on it. But anytime there's more then three people, they're always split into pairs. There's always a masculine and a feminine. No matter whether it's a child, no matter whether it's located by color, using the colors of black and white, black the feminine, white the masculine. It's there. And what's happened because of Roman times and people who are uneducated, who wish to just entertain and speak shit out their ass, they've yet to even realize that they have sold themselves. They are separated from who they are. They're not seeing the key in front of them because they don't have the key. They think that it's just one key. They think it's one path. They think that you have to do this one thing and it's one way. They don't see that there's two keys. And that the second key you've always had. You just had to delve within self to get it. It has nothing to do with the mind. The mind grabs the key from the physical. The heart grabs the key from the spiritual. And a lot of people can't grab that spiritual key because they are working off of this operation of scapegoating. They're not even able to see what their heart's trying to show them because they're so busy blaming others for their own mishap or for their own lack, their own torture, their own method of dragging themselves down, however it is for them. People need to really smarten up when it comes to this. They need to see what this game is of scapegoating. They should stop agreeing to it. And it's unfortunate that people have to, or not even have to, they think that they feel that they have to. But they would rather say that they feel because they don't know how to feel. And they don't understand that what they're feeling is actually a thought that's making them feel that. They don't know that the brain sends electrical currents through their body into their nervous system and makes them feel certain ways based off of different interactions. This is how trauma is formed. It's from conditioned and unconditioned stimuli or stimulus, or whenever you're conditioned to expect something when something happens. Like when your phone rings, you expect someone to be on the other end of it, so you answer and go, hello. That's a conditioned stimuli. That's a conditioned stimulus. When you open a door and you walk and you wipe your feet, that's another thing. And whatever you first do, these are all conditioned stimuli. Not to say anything bad about it, but people have been conditioned into scapegoating. And it is up to them alone to stop scapegoating. There is no one else to blame for the scapegoating issue except for every individual person in their own scapegoating ways. You cannot blame someone else for your own actions. Someone can do everything in their power to stop you. You don't have to stop, though. If you do, that's on you. If you don't, that's also on you. It's all about what you decide to do and what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with moving forward, if you're not comfortable with pushing forward and you're comfortable with blaming another for shortcomings, then that's perfectly fine. You can do that. Just know that you're not on the side of who you think you are. And you're leaning more towards an antichrist agenda where you're sacrificing your own true nature for a rational part of yourself that will never really reward you. And you will always be left lackluster in that sense. And these are things that we need to talk about rather than, oh, this person's doing this to you, that person's doing that to you. Because what are you doing to yourself? You're watching these things. You're agreeing to it. You're being entertained by it. When you entertain things, it becomes a part of you. When you watch these things of, oh, this person's doing this, or you should do that, that becomes a part of you. When someone says, I don't think that's a good idea, does that not change what you think? If it doesn't, awesome. If it does, watch how you change. See how you end up scapegoating yourself by, that person knows more about what they're doing because they're this person and I'm only this and I'm asking them for advice. So that means I have to take it. All these things. These are all different forms of scapegoating that the body does to itself, where we end up throwing our own self under the bus and forgetting what we actually are supposed to do based off of irrationality. Well, rationality, really. And, well, ill rationality. True. But yeah, I just really needed to talk about scapegoating for a minute because it goes on so much. And as a reader, let me back up. As a actual real tarot reader, seeing the scapegoating is bizarre. Because people really want to figure out, like, why they do that. They did it because you let them. That's the truth. They did it because you let them. I didn't let them. I didn't want them to. No, you wanted them to because you sat there and let them. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't leave. You didn't speak up. You let them. No matter what response your own nervous system gave, that led to you allowing them to do that to you. And you can't break that solid truth. Because if it didn't happen to you, why are you affected by it? And that's going to be the ending question. But I love you all so much. The Moon and Back Tomb Folder Forever. Donation links and the website are in the description. And I'll see you all later.